Guys, we're finally back here, Southern Minnesota TV. We're gonna work on the engine. I'm gonna be rebuilding it today. This is the one that was blown up on my mini bike, and I'm gonna rebuild it with a cam, flat top piston, everything. You guys better stick around for this video because I'm gonna be rebuilding a power horse. Let's get right into the video, guys. I did a teardown video previously. You guys can check that out. My YouTube channel, the link will be in the description below. Hoping for 10 horsepower out of the 6.5 horsepower. Let's hope it rips, guys. Today, we're just gonna be rebuilding it. I got a whole bunch of new parts to fix the fact that it was blown up and new parts to make it turn more RPM and make more horsepower. You guys might be wondering, hey Clint, what are the new parts you ordered to make more power? Well, I'll show you. Here's the parts, or just a few of the parts that I ordered to actually make more power. 26-pound valve springs. It used to have 18. Mod 2 cam. I'll show you the old one right next to it. You can see that this one, the old one, has a plastic gear, and this one's got a metal gear. And you can see the difference in the lobes on these cams. This one, the lobes are pointy, and this one, they're a lot wider this way. So this cam has more duration, and this is the stock cam, just making stock power. And then you saw the flywheel. That's just a cast aluminum flywheel. It's rated for 10 grand RPM. That is a lot more than the old flywheel's rated for. This right here. As you can see, part of it's plastic. I think this is rated for like 3,600. I'm not sure about that, but it's rated for a low RPM. This is, like I said, rated for 10 grand RPM. A lot better, a lot safer. And this, being that it's aluminum, is lighter than this. It's actually, I put it on the scale today, and this one weighed 6 pounds. This one weighed 3 pounds. Now that's give or take a few ounces, but this one was half the weight of the old flywheel. So that means we're gonna get up to the RPMs a lot faster, a lot less restrictions. The last part that I have currently, before more come in the mail, is this intake manifold, and that's gonna go with this PWK carburetor, PWK 21. So we'll have that as our carburetor on this build. First up, I'm going to be removing the rock arms and springs. That's the top ring from before, not this goo-pack that I just bought. And my problem with this engine was it was burning oil. And I think you guys can see why. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but that's a huge gap in there. So I would say that was the problem with it burning oil. Well, as it turns out, these rings that I bought for this engine, they are too thick. They are 1.5 millimeters thick, which is not right for this engine, so I needed to place another order for rings. So while that's coming, I took this gear off the crank. Yeah, this ran the governor in there. It's way back there. And it ran the governor up there. But I took the governor off. This engine ain't gonna have a governor. So this is just extra weight. Just while take it off. Don't need it. I'm not gonna throw it away though. Put it in my box of parts. So I got the carburetor studs removed, and I got the combustion chamber cleaned up. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of porting, maybe a little bit of polishing, see what I can do for this, make it look a little bit better, have a little bit more airflow. I've tried porting this before. It's actually in a previous video, mini bike porting. You can go look at it if you want. I didn't see good numbers for gain. I think that's because I was running the stock carburetor and everything. So porting it doesn't really help that much with stock carburetor. But this is not going to have the stock carburetor. This is going to have a flat slide PWK carburetor. So I want to see if I can port it a little bit better. So I think I got it ported and polished. I again don't know if I made it worse or better. I struggle trying to make it smooth and all just flow evenly into the head and flow out. Now this exhaust was really nasty, really filled with black gunk because it was practically running on 50-50 gas and oil. It was smoking really bad towards the end of its life, so it was extra black in there. I think I got it cleaned out for the most part. The walls sort of reflect light. Hopefully it's better than it was before. I'm gonna call that good for porting and polishing. I'm gonna lap the new valves in to the ported head now. Valve locking compound, just spreading it on the valve where it's gonna sit against the head, and I'll put some on the head itself. All right, 26-pound valve spring. We'll install that now. Flash cap on the exhaust side. Both valves are installed into the head. We're gonna move on to assembling our piston. So this is a flat top piston, 68mm bore from Go Power Sports. So I'm going to install the rings onto this and we can throw that together. First off though, got to check ring gap. So install the ring, push it in there, square with the piston, and then I can measure the gap. You guys can't see it because there's not good light, but I think it should be around 3 thousandths. All right, so I have all the rings installed. The rings that came with this Go Power Sports flat top 68mm piston. I have the 2 oil rings lined up, and then 120 degrees away from that gap I have the second ring, and 120 degrees away from that I have the top ring. Yeah, you don't want those rings lined up just because then oil can get right through and you'll lose compression. Lots of blow by. Now I still have to take the old piston, the old dish piston, off the connecting rod because I did not buy a billet connecting rod for this. Hopefully we don't blow a rod. I do know these are rather weak, but I think for just a Mod 2 cam, I think it'll be able to handle it. It's not that big of a cam. The new flat top piston from Go Power Sports came with its own new wrist pin, so I won't be using the old wrist pin anymore, just because why not use a new one? All right, oil up the new wrist pin. I'll install one wrist pin clip. Throw in the new wrist pin. So then I want the arrow on the piston down here with the longer part of the connecting rod. Slide the wrist pin through. And install the other clip. That's ready to go into the engine. All right, time to install the crankshaft. Alright, so I got the piston in, got the arrow pointing down, now I'm ready to install this. I'm working on torquing the rod bolts down now, and I figure if I just throw the flywheel on with the key in it without putting the nut on the end, then I can spin it over easily. And I go to put it on there, So this is without the flywheel key. It spins that far and then it hits something. And I put some valve wrapping compound on the ends of these coils or whatever. And sure enough, there's the valve wrapping compound, there's the valve wrapping compound on the other side. Valve wrapping compound and valve wrapping. So it's hitting in those 4 spots, those 4 braces in the flywheel. So I might just try to take the drummer and drummer them down a little bit. So I'm gonna install the side cover before I put the cam and the lifters in and everything, because this flywheel needed to be ground down way more than I thought, and I ended up having to make the bolt heads. I had to sand those down on the bench grinder, so they don't stick out near as far, because I think that was hitting the flywheel too. I think I got it right, but I'm gonna put the side cover on so the crankshaft can't move side to side, and then I'm gonna put the flywheel on and see if I can spin it without it hitting anything. But then I'll, of course, have to take the side cover back off, put the cam and lifters and everything. I bought this complete gasket set off Amazon, so I'll grab the side cover gasket from that and I'll put this on. I don't have something to hold the crankshaft from spinning, so it's hard to torque the flywheel down. But I think that's gonna work really good. I don't hear anything, and I put the coil on 30 thousandth gap, and then I put the spark plug in, and I just held it against the crankcase. See if I had spark after all the grinding I did to the flywheel and everything, and I still had spark, so that's all good, I think. Now it's time to take the side cover back off and see if we need to clearance the Mod 2 cam or not. The cam fit right in there and it doesn't hit the crankshaft at all. I'm just slowly spinning it over. It feels good. I'm gonna clean this and show you guys the results. It for sure looks a lot better than it did. Not as much as I was expecting though. I was expecting to get a little bit more rust out of it, and I probably could if I spent more time on it, but it's not worth that much to me. It's just a valve cover. Looks a lot better than it did before though. Working on the head, these new rocker arms, I can tighten those down, and then I can install the carburetor adapter manifold thing. And then I have this carburetor manifold for the new carburetor I'm going to be putting on this. I'll install that. And that's ready to go back on the engine. Alright fellas, well, it's been a few days, to be honest, since I worked on this engine, but I'm back here working on it. What I've gotten done is I actually had to take the flywheel back off to just because I forgot to put this cover on and you can't get to that very good. And I didn't have the flywheel torqued down yet, so I figured I just will take it off. Put that little cover on there, right, whether it matters or not. And then I made this out of an old torque converter. I slid that on the crankshaft, and then the bolt holes sort of lined up with what's in the engine, and put some bolts in there, and that's how I held the engine in place while I torqued the flywheel down to 60 foot-pounds. Now I couldn't find an exact answer for how much to torque down online. It said like 54 foot-pounds for stock, 65 for billet, but this is just a cast aluminum flywheel, so I just put it to 60 foot-pounds. We're ready to install the head. I'm gonna run the little bit thicker gasket since I'm running flat top piston. I just want to make sure I don't have valve to piston connection, so I'll put this thicker gasket on just to make sure. Alright, also on this piston, I'm going to write the date and see once if that stays on while I run it. Maybe someday I'll try this engine back down and I'll see that date on the piston. That'll be pretty cool to see when I last built this engine. September 18 of 2024. All right, ready for these push rods. Just set them in there. All right, torque them down to 17 foot-pounds. Now I'm gonna stick a screwdriver in here and try and find top dead center right there. Going to 3/1000. The closer you get it into spec, the more lift it's actually gonna have. Seems about perfect. Do the intake. 3/1000. I think that's good. Spins over nice, opens some valves for a long time. I'm gonna throw a little bit of oil in here. On everything. Okay, I have this intake manifold on here already. That's for this super cheap Temu carburetor, 21 millimeter. Yeah, it seems like a nice carburetor, but I got it for super cheap from Temu. So we'll see once how it performs. But that's gonna go on there like that. We're gonna see once if we can install the valve cover with this fancy spacer in between there. So I have a spot to run my pulse pump from. Just like that, valve cover's installed. Alrighty, I took the recoil pull start thing off of the Honda GX160 and put it on this fan shroud or whatever it's called. That came off this engine. Still says Massimo right there, but this is a Honda part and it makes it look like a Predator 212. So that's pretty sweet. I clearly didn't want the cracked old plastic Massimo 200cc pull start on there. That just looks terrible compared to this. Fuel pump install. Stuck this in there. It's looking really good. I think anyway, in my opinion. It's, you know, obviously still a little bit dirty because it's not a new engine, but I think it's looking really good. Especially when I put this carburetor on there. I think that's going to be really nice. Lots of red and black. So what worked on the Honda for spacing for this torque converter does not work with this Massimo engine. As you can see, the pulleys are not lined up at all. This clutch needs to come out more, and I'm going to take a washer out from behind there and move that one in. So I'll try and line these up a little bit better. Well guys, I came across something that really disappoints me. I got the juggernaut lined up, right? I had to put 2 washers in there and took a washer out back there, and it's lined up perfect now. I was using this square, set it in there flat, and it lines up perfectly with that rear pulley. And then I go to actually install the clutch, the juggernaut, and yeah, it's a cheap Chinese brand. The crankshaft has a bolt that's just part of it. You can't put a bolt into it. It has a bolt out of it. I got that to work with the other kind of torque converter clutch, this. And I'll show you guys how, because I'm gonna have to run that clutch on here, and the juggernaut's gonna have to go on the mini bike. It's kind of sad, but it is the way it is. Can't run a juggernaut on a Massimo engine. I'm gonna show you how I do that. So that bolt that was coming out of the crankshaft, I twist this coupling nut on there, and then we ground a keyway in there, lines up with the keyway on the crankshaft. And so now this will slide onto the coupling nut and then all the way onto the crankshaft like that. And you put the both sides of the clutch on. And then this bolt twists into there. And it obviously doesn't twist very far into there by how short this bolt is. So I'll put plenty of Loctite on there. And I ran that on the mini bike for a long time and it actually works. So if any of you guys have Massimo or other Chinese brand engines out there and want to put torque converters on, that's how I suggest doing it. You obviously can't use this anymore because that'll get in the way. The coupling nut's in the way. Check this out, guys. I bolt the engine down. I got the throttle hooked up. All the fuel lines are hooked up. It runs really good. I think it's just a little bit on the rich side, so I'll have to tune that in a little bit, but this is really dialed. I really like it. All I have to do now is do the break-in. So I'll run it for 0.4 hours or about 24, 25 minutes. And then I'll drain the oil, put new oil in. All right, so I ran it 0.4 hours. So that's approximately 25 minutes. And so this thing is ready for an oil change. That was the break-in for the cam. Also, in with the oil, I'm gonna put a little bit of zinc, ZDDP supplement, just to help that cam out, help that cam so it doesn't wear prematurely or anything. Try and save that cam for a different engine. Looking at the oil out in the sun, you can see it is pretty black. You can see swirls in there. I'm glad I did a break-in. Don't want the engine running on that stuff too much longer. It's not like it's super black or super thick with oil. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Well guys, this engine is a lot better than the GX160. It has way more power, gets up to speed faster. Only thing is, it vibrates more. I don't know why that would be. Maybe from grinding on the flywheel, probably. But other than that, this thing is a ripper, guys. I'm really happy with this build. It's really coming along. There's not a whole lot more I'm gonna do to it. It's getting there to be finished. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll try and answer them. So thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.